early 2000s, man. So
2005.
hilarious. Yeah, I know, but like, so you know what happened before 2005? The Yoda fiasco,
Nothing.
right? Like, no, I'm just well, I mean, you could say nothing, which just again belies the fact that 2005 is part of the modern era, whether you want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
So I know it was 16 years ago, and there's kids about to be able to vote and get drafted that haven't, seen that movie, but still. So
a lot happened VFX wise in 16 years. That's what I mostly was thinking about when I wrote that, I think.
Yeah, hold on. Because now I'm curious. This is super good. I am Googling Sky Captain.
Yes, the sound of Googling on the podcast. I know, right? For the podcast we're doing next week, not this one.
Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow, an almost entirely CGI movie, came out in 2004. So that's the CGI standard right there. And then ever since then, there's been more mixtures and stuff, right? But okay,
that movie.
Now we're talking about Dresden. This is the one we get to say Dresden all the time. The other one we don't hardly ever get to say Dresden. Now we can say it.
Like, yeah, because we follow that rule so strongly.
Dresden.
Look, man, you got to talk about what you know. So, Star Wars, Star Trek, Dresden. How young the kids are these days. Those are the things that we know.
Know how terrible the kids are these days as a result of them.
Yeah, well, you hate the young because they're terrible, but they're terrible because they're young. So yeah, it works. Okay. Well, TVTropes is also a place of either love or hate. Generally varies between those two, not really middling sometimes. So the continuing wild mass guesses on the character's subject, and then we're going from the bottom up of the folders, and we're going with villains today because we did all the miscellaneous people before. Villains. First thought, Cowl is a Starborn. It's not exactly the groundbreaking. Yeah, it's like, okay, maybe prove it. I don't think there is proof. It's just
I think. Yeah, no, I think Jim just has been keeping it under his hat, right? So like even so, like in universe, if Cowl came out and be like, by the way, I'm Starborn, then everybody'd be like, huh? And so like it only started like he started to have to hit people with the clue bat in Battlegrounds, right? Where it's like Dracul's a Starborn and Listen's a Starborn and Harry's a Starborn, and there's a lot of Starborn, by the way. Harry's not special for being Starborn, or not that special, right? So
and since Cowl is Listen, he's obviously a Starborn. That makes sense.
I mean, no, but I would like to subscribe to your magazine, so but
already have.
No, that's my one. That's my one absolute brainlet. That's always been my one brainlet since that book came out. That I was like, it's not true, but I haven't shaken the nose from my synapses.
I guess to put some math to that, so we assume Listen is of the same age as Harry because they're probably in the same generation. Cowl is definitely older than Harry, therefore he's 666 years old.
Right.
More than 700 years old.
Right. That's the thing. He's either 40 or he's 700 years old because we have very specific math around when the Starborn get formed now. So
yeah, and I would put more that he's around 100, guessing because of his interactions with Kemmler at various times, and probably not before then, unless he is some other wizard that's 700 years old. I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to do math in my brain on how old Rashid would be then, because we do know a couple of points for him, right? But it doesn't necessarily.
Not bad.
No. Well, so if the Al-Hazred fight is canon, like if he's going to bring it in directly from the Necronomicon, then I think we've talked about it's like in the 400s, right? But if you go back 40 years and then you go back 666 from there, and then like your next iteration, right? You're still not quite there yet, right? So it's like you got to go back at least 3, and then it kind of makes me think he's probably a lot older than Ancient Mai. Like he was born earlier, right? Because we're assuming fairy. We're assuming fairy time shenanigans, but so was he born in the early hundreds or even the BCs? But
Could even be he could even be earlier than that. In theory, there could have been only one gatekeeper since the inception of the council, and that's always been him.
yeah,
I mean,
okay.
possibly, but it's more probable that Merlin was probably the first one still. Like, he was the first everything on the council.
Wait, Merlin was the first everything, but maybe
No.
Rashid was the
But then
first
after-
one.
You're missing the obvious shit posting here, okay? There has only been one gatekeeper. It always was Merlin.
It always was.
Because
Right, 'cause-
Rashid
yeah,
is
'cause-
Merlin.
Right, and he's Odin, and he's also,
Yes.
the Easter Bunny.
Yeah,
He wears many masks throughout the year.
he was that bunny in the Monty Python that was so scary.
I was thinking, Donnie Darko, but okay.
So someone would have to go back
Sure.
and look at the quote from Battlegrounds, because I can't, obviously, and it's one of the ones I don't remember the exact wording for, as to what Ebenezer says about the spotlight playing over the Earth. Because I know when Lash describes Starborn for the first time, she calls it, a child born under those conditions. But I don't remember that Ebenezer said it was about being born during that time specifically, rather that you just kind of had to be in the spotlight at a certain whatever. Because I remember when we had Jim on and I asked if it was only humans that could be it, and he said no, it was pretty much anything as long as you're in the right place at the right time. So that would seem to hint at the fact that you don't have to just be born during the time. Like, you could essentially be given this power if you're in, I guess, for all intents and purposes, the right conjunction. But again, I don't remember the wording exactly when Ebenezer's describing it, if he says born or not.
All I have to add to that entire thing is conjunction junction. What's your function? So, good one. But no, yeah.
If only
I
we
mean,
had somebody named Bill on the podcast.
Right.
Can you hear me now? Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Were you trying to talk?
Yeah. I was just,
He was speaking in foreign tongues.
my microphone is acting up.
Gotcha.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean the way that it kind of seemed was like, they have a window of a few days or maybe like a few months on the outside or something, right? But it did kind of give the feeling of stuff like what is it? Rising Stars, I think, is the comic where like, whoever was in utero when a comet passed by the Earth gets superpowers type of thing. So like that's certainly my headcanon, but yeah, I'm kind of curious to dig into the.
Okay.
Well, I know Ebenezer says a few hours. He doesn't even say a few weeks. Or
Right.
That much I do
Okay.
remember.
Gotcha.
Right. So when the everything lines up just right, what amounts to a spotlight plays over the Earth for a few hours. Any child born within that light, and then
Okay.
Harry's gonna come on. It's Starborn.
Okay.
Okay, I get it. No, what does it mean? And then he doesn't answer. Power
Right.
against outsiders. So I found it.
But so they have to be born during that. So they're not even in utero. They have to be born during that window of a few hours.
I don't know. I would consider
So-
that to be very flexible, depending on why is birth the important thing? Why is like if you time a pregnancy, but you're trying to you're going to be just a little bit late to get it to happen at the right time of these
Right.
few hours. Why is birth the important thing? I'm sure they can put in some mystical something or other of like first breath, blah blah blah, whatever they can do, just like they do dawn. But
Sure.
utero should count a little bit, depending.
Well, but maybe that's where it works with Elaine, right? Like she was born on the right day, but she wasn't born during the right window. So
Yeah.
that's why she's like Neville Longbottom, and she's, the backup chosen one instead of the actual, Starborn, creator or whatever Harry winds up to be, since we still don't know what the word is for opposite of destroyer in this case. So,
Right. There's also, I think Ebenezer has the possibility of being wrong, not just in general because he could be. It's just because we don't know his justification for why he knows these things, because they haven't told us anything. It's like he's asserted this thing. It's like, I'll prove it. Explain it. Give me more answers.
yeah. You can be skeptical, but he is an archmage that is descended directly from the line of Merlin. I don't think he's going to just shoot from the hip on this one. Now, he is a maverick wizard, but not for this. Like he's the like kick in the door, burn down the scourge kind of wizard, not the we think maybe
Yeah, but,
the Starborn are.
And between him and Lash saying it, it's like
Right.
I tend to. I mean, I understand the wiggle room for wanting it to be a certain way. I also kind of understand the wiggle room for it's like, well, theoretically, Dracul, whatever he is, if he's a demon or if he's something else, he probably wasn't necessarily born traditionally. Like, he is what he is, and he got shunted into human form. So,
well, you made me think at least, like, if a vampire is made at the right time, is that a birth good enough for it?
I mean, it's a second birth in that kind of same wibbly mystical way, I assume. You're born again as a blood-sucking monster.
Yeah, or he further retcons Dracul, because we weren't like 100% satisfied with what we saw, quote unquote, on screen versus like some of his word of Jim, right? Like that, it definitely left some.
No, there's like 6 conflicting things with him.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, it may just be one of those things where it's like he had this planned out super, super early and was talking about it in his, interviews, Q&As, whatever, and then, in the moment it got changed, right? So, but anyway.
What Lash says, there was a complex confluence of events, of energies, of circumstances that would have given a child born under them the potential to wield power over outsiders.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Well, Starborn going on. Cowl was born on May Day, someone says, because Harry has a significant birthday with Halloween. Therefore, it would be a kind of eye-rolling humor / logic for his dark counterpart to be born on the exact opposite end of the calendar.
His dark counterpart. He's literally going into another dimension to face his dark counterpart.
Yes, that's the one change, right? His mom had him on May Day instead of no. Yeah, I mean, what's funny about this is like those two are mutually exclusive, right? Especially now that we know what we know about Starborn. So
yes,
yes, haha, tongue cheek, whatever. Very cute. Let's move on. So
okay. Yeah. All right. Justin DuMorne used mind control to arrange his adoption of Harry and Elaine because a man with a foreign accent living in an isolated house, no electricity, has no job on record, and is new to the area. There's no help that he would have gotten approved for adoption.
I think people are really putting their modern sensibilities on things rather than how it should work back in the 70s.
Yeah, I was going to say, when was Harry born? Because, yeah, it's...
Oh, yeah, he would have been adopted in the 80s, so... Yeah. It's like,
right. Like, they didn't have computers. They didn't just call up, and be like, oh, cool, let's search our national database of registered wizard offenders or something. Like.
Yeah. Well, they say, particularly at the height of 1980s pedophilia / satanic abuse paranoia. Like, so they bring up the fact that it was in the 80s. I was like, this is why it would not work. Because this man with a foreign accent.
Because it was working at the time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll go out on a limb and I would even dare say that it's possible that Jim didn't think about it in that context. Yeah. But I don't think that's going to make it impossible. Like,
I mean, I also have no particular problem with the idea that he did use mind control for this. It's just not that reasoning. It doesn't really matter one way or the other.
And it didn't have to be, right? Like, he's a wizard of the White Council. Bureaucracy is their second major superpower. Like,
yeah, bureaucramancy is a powerful skill.
All he had to do was show up with the right forms and a will to adopt the kid and enough cash in hand. Like, I'm not saying he bought Harry, but
he could have bought Harry. Like, just corruption wise, right? Like, all the wizards, unless they don't wanna, like Harry, can easily become very rich, and he could just throw money at the problem. Like, I want to adopt this kid. I'll just throw enough money at it.
Well, let's face it, Harry was lost in the system enough, quote unquote, to the point where Ebenezer either couldn't or didn't want to bother even finding him. So, there's no reason that level of bureaucracy already on top of it is not. It seems like it's a perfect facilitator for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Justin DuMorne is Cowl.
An old theory that may or may not be true.
I know. This is always everybody's first justification. The first thing that you need to do when making this argument is call Jim Butcher a liar. Because Jim has said that he's DED dead for like 15 years. But what if he was lying? Then we've got all this other stuff to talk about.
Well,
he does spell out dead wrong.
Exactly. That it does give that ambiguity that people will latch onto for forever.
Thank
and then
you.
there's the questions of like, are Black Court vampires dead or not?
Thank you, Columbo. You guys have cracked the case. Because
Well,
you didn't
that
spell
and the-
dead correctly.
And since in the last 5 years it became more prevalent to think that, Justin was actually taken over by what's his name? Kemmler. So he's really actually dead, but he's still roaming around and he's still coming back and he's also Cowl. So
Yeah, I mean,
why
Justin was dead back then too. That is a very good loophole to say that Justin was dead, because that Justin was dead back then too. It was Kemmler the whole time. Woo!
It was Agatha all along. So thank you. Yeah, I know.
really, it's a very anime trope if Kemmler ends up being like the big bad still behind all this.
Right.
There's more than one big bad. Right?
I've got my oar over here to stir the pot. What if it's DuMorne from a mirror dimension?
That's a little too far in the
What
director
if-
Alex corner.
What if Justin DuMorne is actually Harry grown up a little more from another dimension?
Yeah, he's time traveling Harry from another dimension. Ooh,
or time traveling Elaine, who had a sex change.
No, I mean, obviously, like Elaine and DuMorne are like Loki and Sylvie, right? Like, let's solidify this, right? Just because she's from another dimension doesn't mean she couldn't be gender bent as well. So
that's true, and it would make me hate it. So that works.
It'd be in his style.
I knew I was getting close to the buttons, so.
Right.
Yeah, it would be the author's style. Thank you.
Yeah. So he's DED dead, and Cowl is weirdly familiar, right? When they walk up to in Dead Beat. So therefore, it should be Justin and not someone else.
Yeah.
And because he knew about Bob, it's like you can find out about Bob not being Cowl, or
That's
just find like, hey, it's a skull. It's got spells on. I'm taking it, and it's super useful.
Yeah, it's book 19 where we finally understand all the mysteries of the series. It's called What About Bob? And that was the linchpin that really pulled the whole story together.
I mean, to be fair, like storytelling wise, it's almost certainly going to be someone that we're familiar with in not just, oh, it's Peabody. Like, it's going to be something more than that. And the Cowl, DuMorne, Justin theory is not a bad one.
Yeah, it's going to have to be someone that we actually know for it to be familiar to Harry. So, okay.
Yeah,
and then, moving on to Marcone. When Marcone had the shroud, if Michael had been with Harry when he was confronted at the end of Death Masks, I assume, Michael would have sat and prayed with Marcone to save the woman in a coma.
Sure, but it wouldn't have done anything.
And using his magical Jesus powers, it would have worked.
Michael is a saint, and he can do the lay on hands for real.
Right. All the times that Michael has saved people from bullet wounds, including himself.
Yeah.
You don't think, yeah. I've got to assume that this was written before Small Favors, then. So, like.
Yeah, because then there's the next bullet point of, like, well, in Small Favor, Demeter is still working for Marcone and still damaged, and so we assume that her daughter is not alive because, yeah, so I'm guessing.
Duh.
Yeah. So I thought I had a lot of free time, right? And we do this podcast and I play a lot of video games and shit. But the people that come up with terms like fridge tearjerker, like I kind of understand from context and the words that you picked what you're going for, but Jesus Christ, man, like you have an entire like language and like wow. Like
yeah,
because it's gonna be an emotional reveal, but way in the future. So we're gonna call it a fridge tearjerker. Like I don't know, that just struck me in the moment. So
John Marcone's true name is John Marcone. Yes, even in even hand, he says it isn't really his birth name, but a birth name and a true name aren't necessarily one and the same because a mortal's true name changes over time. It's not what's written on your birth certificate. It's how you self-identify. Therefore, as he's been John Marcone for so long and he's very attached to that identity, it is his true identity now.
I mean,
okay.
Fine. It would make sense. It really doesn't really matter.
I mean, I think it's the kind of hair splitting that you've got on like how mortal is Molly and can she pass through the circle? It's like, yes, but there'd be some leftovers, right? Like, like you trying to summon him or bind him by John Marcone would mostly work probably, but it'd probably give him enough like leeway to escape or delay it until like Guard intervened, and she's got a big axe. So
I mean, I think once he became Baron, it all but essentially sealed it, especially under the Accords. I mean, for all intents and purposes.
Ooh. I like that better though, because going the other way, like again, if it's not his true name and then Mab finds out, like technically the Accords would be
Accords.
null, right?
Right, so it's got to be, for all intents and purposes, what he is. And in the same way, Mab wouldn't have been born Mab, but you're really not, at this point, it really doesn't matter.
Right, yeah.
I mean, knowing her true name would be handy and all, but at the same time, you can do, like 90% of what you need to do with Mab as the name?
Yeah, well, the problem in Mab's thing is because now we have word of Jim that like wearing a mantle like that changes your DNA. She is Mab, right? Like it really, in her case, does not matter. Like unless you're going back to, 1075 and looking for whatever she was called before, that would matter, But who she is now is Mab. Period. So.
Oh, and it seems like it would need, and it would really probably only matter. I mean, because of the very old word of Jim that says, the entire council with her true name might stand a chance against her, is the kind of thing where it's like, well, in that case, you're probably just doing it just to get her to not kill you, essentially.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
It's not the worst thing that we found on TV tropes yet, so.
Right.
Low bar to
in
set.
the rough.
Yeah.
I mean, last time there was a couple of them that we actually, the research agrees with this. Okay, just prove it. But
right, that's what I was like. I feel like we've got three categories. We've got acceptable, we've got neutral, or ambivalent, and then we've got what the fuck.
Time to take away your keyboard.
Right?
Yes.
So like...
Okay. Evil Bob has been snooping around Demon Reach's Never Never because the island spirit said another one when it encountered Harry and Bob in Cold Days. Presumably it wasn't talking about Harry, but about a memory spirit that appeared in a skull. And Evil Bob doesn't seem to have a sanctuary to be in, so he most likely came to the island via the Never Never.
That one has been joshed. I don't know where that word comes from. Joshed.
Because it was disproven in the books at a later point. So.
Because of Bonea. I don't think so. I don't think another one needs to be disproved.
That makes sense to me. I didn't think about it, but that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I don't remember the context of another one. Like, you couldn't give us the passage so that we could be like, okay.
No, you can't provide proof.
I know, right?
That's the director's job, since I'm not sitting in front of a computer.
Well, it's not our job either. Like, they should have done it, right? Like, that's all I'm saying. But
no, they're a TV tropes contributor. They don't have to do those kinds of things.
Right. Yeah, because, I mean, sure, like, in the context, like, it makes sense if he can tell that Bonea is inside there, and, he would know that already, though, anyway, because he knew that since the end of Changes through Ghost Story, because he and the Parasite and Mab are keeping Harry alive, so he's not going to be surprised when he shows up with Bonea in his head in Cold Days. Like, no,
he might be trying. I don't remember the context, but if like Sven said, it might be when he's trying to explain to Harry what's wrong.
Okay, It is how he says hello. So Harry and Bob are there, and Alfred, as yet to unnamed, it comes up, and then he starts speaking. The first thing he says is another one, and Bob says meep and disappears into his skull. And then it just goes on to, oh, you're talking now, and he says necessity. Okay, and then there's trouble, potentially. Follow, bring the memory spirit. There's no discussion on what another one means.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be ambivalent on this one, right? Like, so another one in this case referring to Bob, not Bonea, right? Like actual Bob. Yeah. So he's run into an intellect spirit recently, a parasite, or whatever. But
yeah, spirits or just anything that isn't the warden, that isn't a deer, or something I mean,
Right.
something supernatural
Like,
that isn't the word
you've
is
brought
probably
yet another-
enough.
You brought yet another sentient being to the island. Are you kidding me? I've been here for 1,000 years undisturbed, and then you got this. So, okay,
I
not
mean, it
really,
makes sense
Kemmler,
since he had
but-
to, since he had to, or a bargain was had between what is called the parasite, and he would have probably been able to recognize it for what it is. And he doesn't tell Harry what it is because it bargained not to. So, you know, the fact that it was the book prior doesn't really make sense. That he's probably just if he's referring to Bob that way, it's probably because of Bonnie, not evil Bob, who would have very, very silly reasons to want to hang around a prison with the amount of dark information he probably knows.
Right.
The
Okay,
connection to
Ghost Story, Benea, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. The evil Bob thing, I guess, makes a little bit more sense considering the fact that Kemmler was the prior warden, right? So, like, evil Bob might have been there / known it, so I guess it's possible, but it's one of those things that is, like, so divorced from anything we've got in the material that it's like, you know, it could have been literally anything else, but you went with evil Bob because we don't know what happened to him. So,
Yeah,
what if evil Bob is the guy in the
give him a
crystal?
couple points.
Because he's got a British accent.
Sure.
And
works.
he deserves to be there. And that's
Go
the
ahead,
kind of, like,
start writing. Get your TVTropes account.
I know, right? I'm gonna write this fan fiction about this one insignificant detail.
Right. This next one is a little bit old, saying that Harry's shooter is the person who drove the Chrysler and proven guilty. So the person who ran him off the road and proven guilty, blah, blah, blah. But this is before it reveals that the shooter was Kincaid and Harry did it to himself. So
they're like, it's only semi-just because now we know who the shooter is. That doesn't disprove Kincaid was driving the Chrysler, even though he's got no means, motive, or opportunity. But because we didn't see who it was yet, it's only semi-just. So.
What is just actually a word, or is this just a TVTropes thing? And it's just a word I don't know.
Go to Urban Dictionary and look up just. So, I don't know. It might be an internet thing.
It was something.
I thought I asked this a couple of times ago, and one of you told me that it was because of Joss Whedon and him
something that's
specifically
been disproven
writing something.
Oh, yeah, like Word of Jim, right? Yeah, I think I remember what about.
Yeah, but like actually in the text as opposed to just said outside. I believe is what it was. Like, because that being just it was actually written in the show versus stated extemporaneously.
Yeah. Nicodemus is Judas Iscariot. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, sure. Close enough.
Okay, cool. Because he's treacherous and capable, and he has Judas's noose, so clearly he is Judas.
So the problem that I have with this, I think, is that I think Nicodemus was a tax collector, right? Like there is like a Nix. Yeah. That's what it was, because I was like, there was something rather definitive about that. So like Nicodemus is his actual real name. Arch-Leon might have been adopted later or whatever,
right.
But yeah, so not Judas.
Oh well.
Okay. Nicodemus is the potter. What's this? The Bible says that in a fit of guilt, Judas threw 30 denarii he was given to betray Christ back into the temple after the priest refused to accept them back. Having the money forced on them, the priests agreed that they could not permit the coins sent to the temple. What is he talking about?
I don't.
Something from the Bible, I would guess, that I don't know anything about because I don't read.
Yeah, I've never heard of this. What is it?
Makes two of us, or four of us.
This is what would help if they provided sources.
Right.
No.
Yeah. Next.
Nicodemus is the biblical Nicodemus. Who is the biblical Nicodemus? A Pharisee. Nicodemus and the Denarians are responsible for every major terrorist attack in the last century.
No.
Maybe.
Next question.
I think terrorists still do terrorist things. They're just going to capitalize on it.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I think it's much more in character for it to be humans, because humans are just as monstrous, number one. But number two, for more of the reason for the Denarians and Nicodemus in particular to hate humans for what they are. Like, they're happy to influence them, but there's also something there to influence. We do this to ourselves on our own.
Yes. All right. Anduriel does not inhabit a Denarius because he inhabits the noose around the neck, or Nick stores this coin inside the noose.
Nope.
Yeah, but Nick pulled the coin out and tossed it aside in skin game for like 30 seconds. So that's
right.
Not
they mention it here, right? So this is one of those old theories, but it's like, why? Okay, like if anything, like do something more like what Cassius did, right? Like he had it in his hand, and it's like if it's hiding in your hand, I'll fucking cut your hand off to get the coin back or whatever.
Yeah,
So
Deirdre had it in his her chest cavity. I'm sure several of them do things of putting implants in their body.
Well, didn't he say, I forget who said it, somebody swallowed it a couple of times. Obviously it came back out, but they swallowed it periodically.
Right.
I think there are simpler ways of dealing with that. Like, at that point...
I mean, if you don't want to carve into your skin, I sort of understand it.
Right. I think the Denarian can help that make it better.
I mean, Lash offers that, doesn't she? She's like, I can tell you how to like call the coin and hide the coin or something like that. Like, I feel like we get some.
Well, call it from under the lab, definitely.
For sure. She also does things of helping like pain or like providing like a hot shower, even though it's ice cold water. Things like she can manipulate his senses to the point that it's scary. The same thing can happen to the Denarian of like, okay, you're going to perform self-surgery, but it's not going to hurt.
Right. Or you literally transform into like a 6-legged, antler-horned bear monster. Maybe they can just move your skin around a little. I don't know. Magic.
Listen, maybe the guy had, what's that disease that makes you want to eat inanimate objects? Pica.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just, satisfying 2 urges with 1 stone.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe he was going to eat coins no matter what.
Okay. make sure to add that to this Wikipedia, so
Denarians are older than the crucifixion, or there are more than 30 coins.
It's completely whatever theory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the angels are older than creations, so yes, but the Denarians themselves
are named for the 30 coins. It's not like there are only 30 fallen angels. There are just only 30 Denarians.
Yeah, and we know these people were in hell once upon a time, and there's some vague idea that Lucifer might have been the one to put them there. Either way, they were the most treacherous ones, even to him. So it's not like they've been on Earth the whole time either.
Right.
I mean, Lance was just a fence sitter, Yeah. She got lumped in with the rest of them.
See,
well, that was God's fault. That's not on Lucifer. That's on God.
Well, the whole, like, I think the whole fence sitters are, just as bad as the enemy trope comes a little bit more solidified when you're dealing with, like, angels and archangels, right? This isn't like, well, we should listen to both sides and make a decision. It's like, you guys are in heaven. You have the power to unmake the cosmos individually. You fucking know better, like in a lot of cases, right? Like, what's the debate come down to? Where it's just like, well, we're not really sure if Lucifer's got the right idea, or if the guy who literally created the heavens and the earth and me, that I like shake hands with on Tuesday or whatever, like, we don't know if he did it, so.
I mean, if you go by supernatural, he definitely didn't have the right idea.
My parents created me, and I don't agree with them on a lot of things, so that's just how it goes.
Yeah, but your parents are also not like the white God who, created everything and are theoretically omnipotent.
They still think they're infallible from time to time, so
yes,
yes,
they're not the white God. Try telling them that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Nicodemus's companions are mostly failures among the Order of Denarians.
I mean, I don't know.
So the problem is none of this has given us anything like, okay, so you're right, and now what? Like there's nothing to talk about there. And we know that's probably not correct because they get promoted up, right? They start as garbage
No,
and
I think
then they get their tongue carved
he's talking
out or
about
whatever,
Deirdre
like-
and Ursiel, Siluriel. He's talking about the other Denarians. He's just calling them low tier.
Okay, whatever. So,
But nothing.
which I mean, yeah, you're right. Deirdre was so shit tier that she like was the only one he could trust and the only one that could follow him into literally, Hades' vault. Whatever. Just
Okay.
That I'm assume that's an old theory, so we're good.
Magog's shadow is still in Sonya's head.
I sincerely doubt it.
Yeah.
No.
I know
Wrong.
that it's extremely uncommon it's also mentioned there that Nicodemus is very surprised that there's no shadow in the head of Harry, but I think someone picking up the sword would eliminate the shadow.
I would expect.
Well,
that.
even divesting themselves of the coin entirely. I mean, even Michael says as long as he would have to have given up his power too, but he could have, in theory, he could have gotten rid of it.
Right.
Once you give up the coin wholesale, and then yes, obviously picking up the sword again would have, even if there were traces for whatever reason, that would have fucking nuked it.
That would be that opens up like an interesting kind of like side dialogue where it's like, if Harry had become a sword bearer, would that not have been an easier way to just get rid of the shadow? And like, why didn't they think of that? Because Harry's dumb. But just
Harry also does not consider himself worthy.
I was going to say that would essentially require the same kind of character change as just giving up his power entirely. Like it would so fundamentally be against what he is.
It's also a fair point that
Carpenter, he will not be Michael Carpenter.
It's a fair point that he had the coin. Sonya had taken the coin fully. He was a Denarian, and the shadows are supposed to be there to get you to take the coin. I don't know if shadows are left if you give up the coin.
Well, Lash even says they don't. They get subsumed back into the hole. So
yeah, but the question is, would there be another shadow?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Once you're subsumed back into the coin, if you're giving up the coin, that's it. You've given up the whole thing.
Well, Magog had another vehicle, so any other shadows would be useless, I guess.
Well, that too. I mean, even if we assume that you could have a shadow in more than one person, which, I mean, it sort of makes sense from a strategic point. That way, more chances to get the coin picked up. But at the same time, it's like, the coin got picked up. So again, we're back to no more shadow.
I was reading ahead. I shouldn't have been. So I just want to clarify. I wasn't talking about Harry picking up the sword and becoming a knight per se. I was thinking of something more like changes where he borrows it for a minute or whatever, So, but yes. All right. Anyway, I should.
The British prisoner in Demon Rage is Lucifer.
Yeah.
No.
Next.
No.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, why? And why is he?
Because he has a British accent. Lucifer's going to have a British accent because he's a bad guy.
Right. Like, just, there's nothing even intersecting logic where that is. That's literally, this is one of those shit hits the wall theories, right? Like, let's see what sticks. And this is not sticking. So
this is the bad argument against why it's not Lucifer, because either I didn't pay attention in the books, this guy didn't pay attention in the books. Why would Merlin put Lucifer in the minimum security next to Nagloshi? I'm fairly confident he is not in minimum security. He is in the tunnels.
An Archangel is somewhere towards the back, I would think.
Yeah.
Right.
He is in the tunnels somewhere.
These are the guys on par with walkers and fighting existential wars over the course of multiple realities against the outsiders. I don't think he's chilling at the front of the line.
Yeah, but then my point is just that that's not where the British guy is, right? He's in the tunnels. He's not. Nagloshis are like in the antechamber. Can we call it that? That's like the Nagloshis are there. And I'm pretty sure this was in the tunnel.
Okay, so the next thing you can argue is why would Merlin put Lucifer in contemplation, where he could talk theoretically, as opposed to being in a deeper slumber or a deeper whatever.
Now you think about what you did, Lucy.
Yeah, right.
Like Lucifer's had all of creation to think about what he's done. I'm pretty sure he's still on board with himself.
It's like I'm right. I know I did well, and I'm on the side of I'm the winner. Yeah, that's Lucifer.
We also want him to be able to talk to and manipulate the warden as he passes by.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, the father of lies. That's who we want to have to be able to be in somebody's head. We're good. We got this.
Great.
And Merlin himself, no. Just by I don't remember it being just, but
Well, the Merlin theory has been, right? Like
Yeah.
I just don't remember it being.
But it's in the same category as Justin is DED dead. You know, like
Hmm.
you know, he doesn't deny it per se. He just be like, Merlin can't speak normal English. He wouldn't have a British accent. You know, that wouldn't make any sense. And then
Well,
that's what he gets to that, and that's not enough for something.
I feel like the easiest way this is just is Lucifer powered up the circles in small favor. He can't do
They
that
actually
if
point
he's in
that
the
out.
prison.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
I think someone actually
There you
says that at some point. Yeah, unlikely because in small favor he helped Nicodemus twice by giving him Uber Hellfire. So that person at least did read the books.
Right. Especially because the whole him being in the crystal thing would have happened after that, right? So yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
And
The
who would have
White
done
King, by which they mean Lord Wraith, has been repowered. I don't understand yet. This is when Harry was dead. They're saying that because Harry was dead, therefore that the curse is broken on the what Margaret did, and therefore he should be repowered. But no, because Thomas is also the anchor. It was going through Margaret's children, multiple,
Right.
and therefore it.
Two is one is none. She knows how to do high availability cursing. Okay, she had
Also-
2 kids.
Also, Maggie.
Assume even for the briefest possible moment that this was true, that had happened. He's also still functionally been drained for decades now and was under Lara's thrall. So even if it broke, he's still got a very uphill battle. He doesn't just snap back to reality 50 years ago.
Yep. I wonder if the bloodline tie to her children, if that does extend to Maggie, and does it extend to her whole bloodline? Does it extend up to Ebenezer as well? I mean, I guess then the blood curse the Red Court wanted to do would have freed the White King, because everybody who's related would have died there. But it hasn't happened. So
my guess is no, because this seems like the kind of working she would have had to have direct, ties to the people, as opposed to, and I can understand why you could make the argument, obviously, for a grandchild and a father, but it seems like the kind of thing that, again, with the wonky sort of way magic spiritually could work, number one, what they represent, and, the fact that whenever she did this, I mean, if it was part of her death curse, she wouldn't have necessarily had a lot of time to make it go further than her direct children.
Lara knows that Harry is Ebenezer's grandson. We do know that was confirmed.
Yeah.
Yay.
Next one is why does it matter?
Lucius Glau, from Proven Guilty, was half Fomor, not half Djinn, because he has a frog-like mouth and therefore frog.
Okay, sure. But why does it matter?
It doesn't. He's dead.
He's dead, and the guy called him what he was. I mean, it's I don't really see a reason for that to be different.
Right.
Other than you're oh, look, the Fomor were doing things even back then. It's I'm pretty sure they've been doing things for fucking thousands of years. That's not the point.
Right. Mavra has been after the collected works of Kemmler. Okay.
I'm pretty sure she was just after the one.
Well, she certainly doesn't want it in the hands of other people.
She just wants to finish the book collection. Finally, the first edition Word of Kemmler.
Yes! I can relate to Mavra on a whole other level now.
She didn't tell Harry to get all the books.
She already had them. She just needed the word.
Yeah. Right.
She already had the forehead of Kemmler. She already had the left hand of Kemmler. She already had the heart of Kemmler. She just needed the word so she could summon Captain Kemmler. No, I
thought you were going with Exodia.
Yeah.
Captain Planet's older, though. I should have known.
This one's kind of fun, but pointless. Mavra will reappear in her new role as the Black Queen.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's a little bit fun, but yeah, that's not what she did.
Right. She's your third favorite character, right? So,
Well, she's so
fourth
scary.
is Odin Rashid third?
I
Because
don't
it's
know.
Leah,
I didn't really
Molly.
think past Leah.
Yeah.
Eh.
Okay. You got a soft spot for Molly, whether you realize it or not. So
I like Molly certain times, and other times she annoys the hell out of me. I like Mab a lot. Leah to Mab, so it's the scary.
Well, they're basically
ones.
the same person.
Yeah.
It's just one is a little more outwardly joyous and crazy.
P.S. If the One Ring of Power had been offered to the director, she absolutely would have taken it and become a queen, dark and powerful to behold. So,
yeah, but I kind of would have been okay with that because she still would be sitting in her studio and not doing anything. Like, she doesn't have the motivation to actually rule.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I would have the Ring of Power just to be able to have a big house to be able to stay in and have animals and cakes, and I would be doing nothing.
To sacrifice to the Dark
your
Lord.
occasional Coke Zero.
So she's more the Red Queen than the Black Queen, right? She's more like, if you come to my turf and bother me, off with your head. P.S. Bring me more cakes. So,
Yeah.
Oh, Alice in Wonderland. That's such a thing about
neighbors
that one.
better not come up and say hi to me.
Right.
Okay. The White Council trader created the Hexenwolf belts, so they're putting Peabody made the Hexenwolf belts.
I think Cowl made the Hexenwolf belts.
I bet Cowl because the way that they line up the things in the first 3 books and blame them on Cowl and Komori.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been a group project. So
very true.
In essence, it's the idea is that Nemesis touch agent, whatever, as we find out that his first 3 cases are that. So if whatever extent Cowl and Komori or just Cowl were acting as agents of that, like they were for the Athame, then yeah, sure, probably it's always what's made the most general sense.
I mean, Peabody wrote a book in German, right? And Hexenwolf is German, so it's what the author would do. Yeah.
Except he wrote it poorly, as we know. So
yeah, he got the grammar wrong.
Yeah.
On the title.
That's gotta be embarrassing.
Cowl is not human.
Yay! That's because he's a wizard. We know that. Thank you.
Cool. No, out of all the shit that my eyes grabbed, Kumori's name sounds namey, but not normal. What the fuck does that mean?
I mean, it's for sure a cover name, just like
it means cloud in Japanese. It is so obviously a pseudonym, just like the way Cowl is. It is literally the word mask, essentially, in different words.
Languages, right?
I think Cowl's origin, whatever he is a human wizard of some sort, like maybe the Kemmler thing, which was originally a human wizard. But yeah, I don't think he's like a red core vampire or a Fulmore, or he's a human of some sort.
I mean, this person might not have been paying quite as much attention because they said, plus, who names their kid Cowl? Therefore, they're not human. They are a shapeshifter, mode-locked outsider.
I was unaware that other people couldn't name themselves. Like we just discussed with John Marcone.
I know.
People don't name their kids Cowl.
Like this after this episode. Like,
you know what? When I go through and I randomly adopt a child, because even though it's 2021, I think I can get away with it, as we've established is not possible anymore. I'm going to name that child Cowl. I don't care what their name is. I'm going to do it.
You're 12 years old. Fuck it. Your name is Cowl now.
You want supper? Your name's Cowl. Live with it.
Yep.
No, but that's the only word that appears on their birth certificate, right? Like Cher or Prince or whatever. Like, Prince is obviously a Dark Lord and demon because Prince is not a human name. That's just.
Might be onto something there.
More importantly,
it's not
of all the places to get validation, my crazy ass theory that I threw out earlier, just for shits and giggles, that Cowl is actually Harry from the future, is the next bullet point. I'll have you know. So,
I'll have you know, I'm not even remotely surprised about that.
And it's got like 20 or. It's got like 20 or 30 subpoints. So.
I was gonna say, people have been saying that he's like, Alterna, Harry, and Molly, and or Elaine for a while now.
Okay.
I don't want to read all this.
So we can skip it. Then.
There are only two. We always start arguments with the strongest point. So the strongest supporting point is there are only two characters to use the phrase "thrice I will ask and done." Unusual, given that both tend to speak more casually otherwise. Case closed, my friends.
Yeah, because
Case
they're
closed.
not fucking wizards or anything that are just like to be archaic and special sometimes.
Right.
Both have huge amounts of power, are willing to dip into black magic for the greater good, tend not to bother explaining themselves in a crisis because wizard. Favor escapes and entrances via the never never and like long black garments. And why else would Butcher have mentioned thou shalt not walk through time if it never is coming up? Well, that's a future.
Because it will come up. But he said Harry's going to break every law, but I don't think that means he's Cowl.
Okay, I swear I didn't write
time.
this next one.
Listen, why would Jim have even bothered to write the books if Cowl wasn't going to be Harry? All right. Why does he put words on a page? Just why? It makes no sense. It's what he would have done.
I'm going to read this next bullet point, but I did not write this. And the gatekeeper is both of them in the future.
Right.
Great.
Yes.
He's only left time travel in order to help his past become his less past self.
I like this argument that just kind of devolves into some things. Little Indian guy, and they're like, "Oh, he's taller. My bad."
I was gonna say, wait, hold on. First, you were like casually dismissive of his height, as if that was somehow. I mean,
and
when you combine it, when you combine it like that, it's like, oh, I mean, he's just this little Indian guy, even though he's almost 7 feet tall.
Yeah. There's like two human-looking characters that are taller than Harry, and they're the same person.
So my favorite part of the Cowl is time traveling Harry theory is that Harry gets to the end of his journey, or at least very close, and the only thing he can think to do with all of his time and power is to go back in time and kick his own ass. That's what he's going to do. That's his retirement plan. I'm just so fucking mad about myself and having that book that I'm going to go back in time and kick my own ass to steal that book.
It's reflective of his internal self-loathing. It's what Butcher would do. I don't. You know,
Yeah,
it's in his style.
Then Butcher really is the standing character for himself that other people say that it is, right? Because that's what Jim does. He makes Harry's life miserable, so it'd be super meta if he time traveled back to make life miserable for himself.
I mean, it's basically Looper at that point, right? Like that's what the Dresden Files is. It was a 25-book version of Looper. Spoilers, True. By the way, if you haven't seen the movie. So
good movie.
Here's more evidence that Cowl and Harry
do not put
totally
that on a
the
perfect
same
list.
person. At the end of White Knight,
Cowl's a
Harry
what
calls Cowl Darth Bathrobe. And what did Harry wear to the meeting of the council in Summer Night? A bathrobe. Therefore...
oh my god!
Argument.
We did it!
We fixed it.
Jim planned it all along with the bathrobe.
We did it. Harry Potter's safe, everyone. We did it.
I would actually be upset if this turns out to be true.
Yeah, a lot of there's some side arguments about Molly is totally Komori for XYZ reasons, but it's no. Because Komori is a Japanese word, and Molly uses Japanese and her language like any other teenager of her generation would.
Of course, she watches anime.
Exactly.
No. Let's be clear. After that conversation in the treehouse, she watches hentai specifically.
Yeah.
She watches both.
No.
She better be making hentai jokes to Lara. If Harry isn't, Molly better.
She can get away with it.
Exactly.
You got to read the next point, though.
No, I don't, because I don't have a screen.
The about Cowl and Komori.
The
Cowl
name.
Komori, or Mirror versus Harry and Molly. Or are you talking about another one?
No, so Molly is in fact Kumori, and then further supported by Kumori's name, because you would say Molly Carpenter as Mori Carpenter in Japanese. Like,
oh yeah, that is.
Are you shitting me?
Yes,
so
the names
that's
around
why she's Kumori.
for the proper
That's
Japanese
amazing.
order of family name first, and it's Carpenter Mori, and it would be C Mori. So you say that phonetically, Kumori.
I can't tell if that's vaguely racist or if that's actually the way it is. But either way, I'm happy about it.
They can't really pronounce L's. L's and R's are the same thing in Japanese, so they're kind of right on the fact they pronounce Maury, or as they would write it down, it would sound a bit more like Molly. But someone went on way too many drugs to come up with this one single bullet point to the fact Maury Carpenter to Carpenter Maury to C Maury to Kumori.
It all tracks.
It's just a fucking word.
It's like that It's Always Sunny meme with the fucking Charlie in front of the Pepe
Yes.
Silvius.
Yes. Okay. Cal and Kumori are
You killed Justin with that one.
Harry and Molly. Yeah, he's running away. Because instead of time travel shenanigans, it's going to be mirror, mirror, Cal and Kumori.
I would
And
like
it
that
connects-
more, but I don't like it.
Yeah, but I feel connected to that. Cowl is Mirrorverse Harry who fell to the dark side. Not just the same person, but
I mean, I don't think we're going to get multiple Alter Harrys, and we know we're already getting one that's not Cowl. So it's just based on that. I'd say hot pass on that one.
yeah, I don't know. Like the next one is just really stupid. Cowl is Martha Liberty.
Huh?
Naturally.
Well, it's what the author would do. It fits his style.
I like how this person opens up this. Before you go wondering what I've been smoking, bear with me.
No, I will not. I
I
refuse
don't
to
care
bear
what
with you.
you've been smoking. Provide some fucking evidence.
No, this I want to be provided with the smoking substance for, because this seems like it's the kind of shit that. Just
Well, if that's legal,
sends
then
you
you
to
should
the
go for it.
moon.
This guy went on a spiritual journey is what happened. He didn't just smoke something, like he went out into the universe and brought back the truth. My guy.
Yeah, he went down to Peru on an ayahuasca trip with shamans that were beating him for days, and he was dehydrated and everything. And he comes out of it. If Cowl is Martha Liberty.
No, this guy took the training of River Shoulders, and that involves sitting in a teepee and just going on a bunch of
peyote.
Yep.
I was gonna go 50 bullet ants instead. You know, he's known more pain than you could possibly imagine.
Well, both. He did the peyote and then had the bullet ants on him,
There you go.
and he has ascended way beyond us mortals.
Why is this
How-
more painful than normal? Like, yes,
Because you're not smoking the shit that they are.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, Cowl
Cowl
is
is dead
dead and has been all along. Because
Oh.
Jim Butcher is a master of Chekhov's guns and
Oh,
wouldn't throw
Jesus
around
fucking
rhymes
Christ.
for no reason. It was recently rereading Deadbeat, and the climax, Harry orders Butters to keep using the drum, and the conversation goes, keep that drum beat going, right? Because if I stop, no more dinosaur. No, if you stop, the dinosaur does whatever the hell it wants it to. We should explain why Cowl wants to use the Dark Hollow, which would bring... Using it will bring him back to life. The immortality might just be a bonus. What is the connection of the dinosaur to Cowl being dead to immortality?
And Cowl's like the only one we didn't see summon zombies. Neither Cowl or Kumori are ever drumming, right? Like,
Correct.
so he's not a reanimated corpse, at least in
And
the normal sense. Like,
even if he was a reanimated corpse, would he have been attached to Butters' drumming?
No. That's not what that's text says. So I can explain the logic. I'm not saying I agree, but I get what he's saying.
You can explain this logic? I'm
Yeah,
scared.
he's
No,
saying.
I know what he's gonna say.
Oh.
I'm waiting. I'm so excited for this.
The guy who wrote this is like explaining. You know, Harry's explaining this that like the dinosaur would not go away; it would be free to do whatever it wants. So Cowl was once resurrected by someone and got free from the beat and can now do what he wants, and he wants to be alive again. That's why he wants to do the Dark
He wants
Hollow.
to be a real boy.
Oh,
Okay.
so Cowl is Michael Jackson because he got free from the beat and then he got funky and then he wants to be immortal and a real boy? No? Okay. Anyway. Look, that
Yes.
shit made more sense than what this said.
Yeah. It kind of scares me that you're able to put that into words that are actually understandable.
My brain, it pulls from the universe sometimes. So
Okay. This next one I totally agree with. Cowl is Simon Petrovich. This is the one I'm betting $10 on.
That's also one I wouldn't mind. I think the whole Simon Petrovich, Cowl, Justin, Kemmler, it could very well be connected and be Kemmler in all these forms, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's perfect. Kemmler is like the evil Rashid, right? Where like all the bad guys are Kemmler, just like Rashid is all of the mantles, right? Like, you know, Rashid is every good character. So the end books is going to be like, you know, Rashid teaming up with younger Rashid, which is Harry Dresden, so that they can fight all the different kinds of Kemmlers. That's perfect.
And then they fuse together and create the Big Bang. And the universe starts anew.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's never mind.
The next one is one where I'm just like, it's absolutely not this.
Cowl is Klaus the Toy Maker.
I'll fucking no. Okay, I'm gonna disarm this right now because I hope we're still recording because this is fucking important. Okay, I'm Cowl because
this one's
fuck
important.
all of you because I'm so mad right now. I'm just gonna manifest dark side powers, invade this universe, and fucking kill everybody because I'm Cowl now. Like,
Do it.
how is he Klaus the Toy Maker? No,
Because we've
Cowl
never seen
is
the guy.
Dobby.
How is he not?
Cowl is Dobby from Harry Potter, guys. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense. It's what the author would do. Like,
It's not going to be a throwaway wizard from book 2? 3? When was
Cowl
it?
is
When was
Eddie and the Enchanter, all right? Cowl is pick which what was his apprentice in Full Moon? Cowl is that chick.
Kim
Why
Delaney.
not?
Kim Delaney.
Yeah, yep. Cowl is Kim Delaney because
That would have a more emotional impact than fucking Klaus the Toy Maker.
right,
Yes.
right.
Oh, this next one. Cowl is Arthur Langtree.
No.
Because
No.
they're both old and powerful? Somehow? I don't get
No.
it.
I mean, story. I mean, I don't really buy it all, but if we go for writer impact wise, that's a character we know. That makes more sense, right? I don't see the agendas lining up really, but who knows? But if I were to give it any like credence, at least storytelling wise, it's a well-established character that we're familiar with. But that's about all I can say for that theory.
Yeah.
Right.
The Black
Nice.
Council has been a stealth mentor for Harry this entire time. Similar to the way that Leah would beat him into learning things, the Black Council is
Right.
totally doing the same thing.
I mean,
Trying for some
Maybe?
reason I can't
But-
remember, but it's like, yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, like I think we've seen similar theories with like Nicodemus, right? And like Mab and a few other people. It's like they're all testing Harry and they're all pushing Harry, right? It hasn't been happy happenstance or, you know, the plot requirements that Harry levels up each book. It's been literally all of the monsters are getting together to push Harry to make
This is
him
a giant
into,
training montage.
you know, yes.
My problem-
25-book training montage.
the main issue with that one is that some of the things Harry stumbles upon get into with where we think it's or see it's Black Council related. Seems like very much he was not supposed to. It wasn't like they kind of came at him. It was more like he just kind of fell into it.
Right.
But who knows?
But wizards are that crafty, man, that they make you think that you fell into it when really it was their whole plan the whole time. So,
This one's weird. He who walks behind has Harry's bare belt buckle. That belt buckle he used once in Blood Rights. He who
that's
walks
what the
behind
author
has
would
it.
do. Yeah, it would make
Yeah.
sense.
Mm-hmm. Totally would have stolen his
Let's
jewelry.
see. It contains his magic within it, maybe allowing him to be tracked. And because Mab hid his blasting rod that one time, that means anybody can do that at any time because I said so.
Yeah, and not leave any form of effects that no one would ever notice and be worried about.
I think
I know. Michael wasn't there to ask him where his belt buckle was. He's like, oh my God, that's why my pants fell down. So,
I think this is maybe
Wasn't because of Laura.
an author thing, I guess. It's like I feel like earlier on Jim was more trying to each book has like a new gadget or a new potion, a new something, and then he kind of went away from that as the story
Because
got
they were
bigger.
getting very powerful.
Yeah.
don't you dare bring real world logic into this and make sense. I mean, really though, he's come out and said it, right? Like even the potions thing, like he says Harry doesn't have time to do a lot of this shit. In a lot of cases, he didn't have money. Very shortly after he does the bear buckle, he spends multiple years building fucking Little Chicago. That's probably where a lot of his extra time and money went into, right? And we actually do see potions come back again in changes when he's got a little bit of downtime, you know? So it's just like,
I like the little, and I really like the little nod and changes to like, okay, he still actually can do potions. It's just rarely in these stories that he has the time, and I like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I get it. I want to see his magical gizmos, but like, you know, without even trying too hard, you can see what he's been busy with, right? Like after changes, well, after Cold Days even, right? So in Cold Days, he basically doesn't have any foci because that was Mab's whole point of training, and she kept him busy so he couldn't make anything. And then Cold Days to Skin Game, he carves his staff from the tree of the island, right? So he's
probably the most important thing to have,
right? You know, so yeah, it's all funny when they get like, because he even does like he's got his bracelet again. He can do his shield again with a focus in Skin Game. So he's got his magical gear, but nothing's new and different. It's just new because he lost all his shit when he died in changes. You know, like
I mean, it's probably better made. It depends kind of like, at least his craft is better. He might not have had access to the same materials on the island as he used to, but I mean, even does he have the shield bracelet in Skin Games, or does he make it like that shield just by his own power?
I thought he's got the bracelet because he's got to stop those 50 cals, you know, with I feel
like he just did that on his own because he didn't have the tools to make a shield but all I remember him actually having is the staff as the only thing he really was able to make on the island. And then he makes the skull because he has a promise. But I don't remember well enough. It was just at the reread like last year or something. Too many things.
Yeah, time to start again.
It's been over 2 years actually, I think, because at least, you know, for some of those, right? Because like we had read it just, you know, a couple months before, you know, Peace Talks and Battlegrounds came out. But, you know, I recently did another podcast with a former guest host that we had. And that kind of came up. It's like, yeah, shit, it's been a little bit since I've read the Dresden Files because we did that freaking 3-year-long reread. So
I liked it. And I have read the Dresden Files so many times where I've gotten to the point, I love the books. I wouldn't actually mind rereading them again, but I also just have so many books I want to read that it's really hard to justify reading the Dresden Files again. But I'm probably going to do it at some point anyway.
Okay. The walkers are opposed to each other because why wasn't he who walks behind helping he who walks before in Cold Days? Clearly they hate each other and they have their own catfight.
Makes sense.
I don't know if they work against each other. I think they kind of have, like, I don't think they work together. They just have the same agenda, maybe? It doesn't seem like they work together that much.
Well, so he who walks before was just there outside and on its own body and everything, but he who walks behind needed to be summoned. Maybe they have different rules.
It's very possible as well.
Demon Reach prisoner with British accent is Merlin.
Didn't we see that earlier?
I can't tell if this is a repeat or if they get it slightly different, but I'm just kind of skipping through that. The British prisoner is King Arthur, which is same problems. Still not speaking good English.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who the fuck that guy will be, but it's gonna be good when we know.
The British prisoner is John Constantine.
What a great tie-in for next week's topic.
Right? I know. I'm going to take that. That is the closing dumb idea. Like, because the accent, the vernacular, the attitude, and if anyone was going to piss off Merlin or the White Council, they'd have to be locked up in maximum security, and on Demon Reach it would be John Constantine.
The best part is that the reason why John Constantine is in the crystal is because he's trying to quit smoking. So that's that's his rehab, you know. So,
that's a pretty good protocol, I guess, to avoid.
Yeah. No temptation. I mean, there's a little bit of sulfur and shit from the other demons that are locked up and everything, but you know, it makes sense. So.
Okay, we skipped over a few at the end because they were bizarre. But we got through the villains folder. We have several more to go. So next time for Dresden Crazy TV Tropes thing, it will be the White Council to start with.
Which, yeah, it's totally different than villains, you know. So like, but
yeah, they're not going to be the same person at all.
Yeah.
You
mind if I plug the thing?
Go ahead.
So Sunday, I think I did a recording with Spencer. So he's been on at least an episode. I thought 2, but you know, at least the one. But yeah, so he and a buddy have started a new podcast called Fantasy Files. They do a bunch of books and whatnot. So they've been doing a Dresden read through or reread in their case, but they've been trying to do it like spoiler free and just kind of keep going. So this time was Blood Rights. So, you know, look them up if you want to see me be nonsensical again with a different crowd. And then like, I'm not 100% sure the episode's out yet, but check them out anyway. It's pretty fun. And,
oh my God, do they edit? Yeah. Do they do that thing that we don't
do?
Edit?
Yes. Yeah, because we recorded through Zoom and then they'll go back through and edit. So, you know, we were able to take bathroom breaks. You know, we were able to just be goofy and just whatever. And then they're going to go edit that out. So it's crazy. I told them, I was like, shit, I say this shit live anyway. So I don't care. You can edit or not. So, like, so I was like, I'm used to being live. So, you know.
Yeah.
Spoiler free, is that, I assume that means up to this book we're talking about, but not Correct. Further? Like, yeah, okay. It would be really weird to not talk about spoilers, the book you're discussing.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, I mean, with Blood Rights, it's obviously like a huge deal, especially with a lot of the White Court stuff going on and Thomas and everything else. So, you know, you try not to get into the implications too much. Just give them the knowing look and be like, keep reading if you want to know more, because this is going to come back later, you know.
Remember the moment for later, it'll matter a lot. It's like
right.
half the book.
Yeah, but yeah, we spent a lot of time talking about like the Scourge and, you know, a little bit in the Fight of the Deeps and stuff, just because that was fun, right? So it's like, you know, what were your favorite lines in the book? What was your favorite moment? What was spoiler alert, they overlap, you know, in a lot of cases, like, you know, Kincaid, Bolshevik, Muppet, and, you know, all of that stuff. So, you know, but yeah, it was fun. So,
ooh. And then next time we're talking about the perfect movie of John Constantine. No, Constantine, because I don't care about the rest of it.
Yeah.
Deal with it, Cody. It's perfect.
Director's doing so, yeah.
It's okay, Cody. It's not perfect, but it's a good movie.
Yeah. This is one of those where it's like, I love it. I need an excuse to rewatch it. It's not perfect. I'm sorry, but we'll do battle next time.
Well,
so.
Fifth Element was not perfect, but you died on that.
No,
I will die on this
hill.
hill.
Full of shit. You don't get it if the Fifth Element isn't perfect. So that's all.
Well, I'll die on this hill that Constantine was perfect.
I'll be happy to kill you on this hill. So